And
Susie, you guys him when he's talking. For comment, we can move it down.
I wish I could push my. Yes, it'd be more appropriate for me to take a less.
Oh, I'm going to,
Pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Quigley,
Here.
Councilwoman DeGroot. Here. Councilwoman Hayner.
here,
Councilman Schatzel,
Here.
Councilman Van Cleek.
over here.
Thank you very much. Safety announcements, please note the safety exits to your left and to your right. They're illuminated by the red exit signs. If there's any necessity to evacuate, please do so in an orderly manner. I'm going to call for changes or modifications to the agenda. I have two. They are late resolutions revolving around the extensions of the Washington Avenue Sewer District and the Cherry Hill Water District. The essence of the resolutions is to set a public hearing date for the next town board meeting, which is what the resolution calls for. At this point, are there any members of the public here who wish to discuss agenda items? Anyone on any item that appears tonight on this agenda? Laura?
Here is the main view. Your computer is showing the main view on the Facebook page.
So I should.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Laura Hartman, 44 Catskill Avenue in the town of Ulster. And I am here to address the board regarding the proposed resolution to approve the site plan for Lightstar Renewables, the solar farm plan for Route 9W just north of Adams, situated on the ridge. It is deeply disappointing to witness the advancement of this project in a location identified by our town's comprehensive plan as important and sensitive, an area that the plan indicates should be protected. I understand that legally the town board cannot reject this project because the current zoning permits it and state law reinforces this position. Nevertheless, the long-term impact is clear. The town will have to live with the consequences of this decision for many years. The removal of mature trees and the disturbance of land that ought to remain untouched will become part of the legacy left behind. The situation arises because our comprehensive plan and zoning code are not in alignment, though they should be. Decisions should consider not only potential financial benefits, but also the quality of life for current residents and those to come. It is truly unfortunate that this project is set to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? From any individual in the audience on agenda items tonight? Communications?
There are two communications tonight. One is an oversight of a communication that was received prior to last month's town board meeting, received August 14th from early resident Danita Johnson in reference to the battery energy storage system. This communication is being set to be part of the communications record for the Alcazar project. In her communication, she referenced that she was advocating for a positive declaration be made by the town board. Second communication is an email received Friday, August 29th from Ulster County Legislator, 4th District, Eric Kitchen. It reads, "Dear Commissioner Iapoce, I am writing to express my deep concern regarding the state of the Kingston Motel, which the Department of Social Services has been utilizing as an emergency housing site for families. While I fully understand the county's obligation to provide temporary shelter, the conditions and operations of this facility raise serious issues for both the families placed there and the surrounding community. Families living at the Kingston Motel have repeatedly reported poor living conditions and a lack of meaningful on-site services. Despite the county's significant expenditures on this facility, residents remain without the consistent support they need to transition toward stability. Services such as reliable case management, educational and recreational programming for children, job readiness assistance, and access to health resources. The result is an environment where families are put up there and forgotten rather than supported on a path toward permanent housing and self-sufficiency. The shortcomings in services and supervision at the Kingston Motel have also created spillover burdens on local law enforcement. Town of Ulster Police has been repeatedly called upon to respond to incidents at this location, stretching its already limited resources and diverting officers from other essential public safety responsibilities. The county must take immediate steps to address these issues. At a minimum, this requires ensuring the facility provides consistent on-site supportive services for families placed there, establishing clear accountability and oversight for conditions at the Kingston Motel, working with law enforcement, reevaluating whether extended motel placements are an appropriate long-term solution, given their high cost and poor outcome for families. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I urge the Department of Social Services to act swiftly to improve conditions, enhance services, and provide relief to our local police force. I look forward to your response and to learning what corrective measures the department will implement."
And that concludes communication.
Yes.
This morning at about 10:30, I received a copy of a press release that I believe the community should be aware of. The press release starts out, Assembly members Shrestha and Senator Hinchey find no safety flags on proposed energy storage project in the town of Ulster. I call that to your attention and recommend that you follow up by looking at the article in the Kingston Freeman where Mr. Kimball has followed up on the press release. Mr. Sergeant Miller, now for a presentation. This issue was raised at a previous town board member with the town board expressing curiosity, I should say, on the police department's ability to, how do you want to say it, Mr. Groot?
I don't know, I'm sure that you can figure out, but I do like to know everything that we do as far as keeping the town of Ulster residents safe, and they have no idea what happens behind the scenes, what you guys and girls do on our police department. I'm sorry. You might be here.
So Sergeant Miller is a longstanding employee who has undergone training and is certified in the area of, now you can take it away.
Here we go. Sergeant Miller, I'm the Midnight Patrol Sergeant here, the town of Ulster. I've been employed by the town of Ulster since 2011. During that time, I did a significant number of DWI investigations, arrests, and subsequently prosecutions. I was afforded the opportunity to attend a drug recognition expert training. It is an extensive training where they train patrol officers to identify impaired subjects and then classify the drug category in which they're impaired by. So most police officers are trained on standardized field sobriety testing for alcohol. Part of what we use for the drug recognition classification is that standardized field sobriety testing, but we also do a number of other tests to classify that impairment into one of 7 drug categories. So my job is secondary to the patrol officers. Regularly, what happens is a patrol officer would stop a vehicle or come in contact with a person who's been operating a motor vehicle. They determine them to be impaired. They make an arrest and find out that the person is impaired still, but not legally impaired by alcohol. Say they take a alcohol screening, which results in zeros on the screening, or something under the 0.08 limit of New York State, but we've already determined them to be impaired. They'll contact somebody like myself. I believe there's 4 in the county and 200 in the state. And we'll do a 12-step process where we determine the category of drugs that they're impaired by. This is prior to any toxicological exam. Toxicology takes roughly 3 to 4 months to get back from the state. So they can utilize my determination and then later testimony to then prosecute the impaired driver by drugs. This is kind of a hot button issue right now, especially with the legalization of marijuana. There's a lack of education relative to marijuana impairment, both in our community and also the police. The police academy has updated their training module to include a marijuana impaired driver course on top of the standardized field sobriety testing. But police academy is 16, 20 weeks where they're overloaded with a significant amount of information and maybe not everything sticks. So I make it a point to not only teach this in the academy, but also teach it to my officers too, and reinforce the knowledge and the education that they've gotten in the academy. I've been fortunate enough to do roughly 80 of these evals in the last 6 years. And it significantly increases our ability to not only arrest but prosecute impaired drivers on the road, make town of Ulster and our surrounding community safer for people on the road. The test that we do, like I said, is after the arrest. Normally what happens is the officer would bring them back to the station after the arrest. They do a breath screening, which will show their blood alcohol content of whatever that is. If it's something under a 0.10, I'm able to do my test. If it's over that, the alcohol is so strong, it just overweighs any drugs that might be in the system. But I then continue with my tests. I do things where I test pulse, blood pressure, body temperature, the muscle tone. I do eye examinations and also the field sobriety tests that are conducted on the street. We do it in a warm, dry, flat environment, give people the best opportunity to succeed. And the result of this test gives me a physiological idea of what the body's doing, because each drug category will affect the person's body pretty much the same. If I were to take those drugs, you were to take those drugs, your body would react physiologically the same. So we're able to not only determine that they're impaired, determine what they're impaired by, and then later take a blood test and get toxicology to say, yes, they were impaired and they were impaired by this. Some might say that, why do we do this step, right? It seems kind of counterintuitive. If we know they're impaired, we have their blood, we can say that they're impaired by drugs. The test that I do ties that blood result to the impairment. So the impairment that they're seeing, I can say that yes, they're impaired, and they're impaired by a narcotic because of the physiological effects that I'm seeing on a person.
A question,
Yes, sir.
are you usually called in before or after an accident?
So, right, it depends. If you have a fender bender in the Target parking lot, they're not gonna call me in. If we have serious physical injury or death involved, then yes, they would call me in.
Okay. And how would you make a determination from somebody driving under the influence, say with cough medicines versus illegal drugs?
So cough medicine is a tough one. So there's different types of cough medicine. Are we talking over-the-counter cough medicine?
Take your pick,
Okay, so over-the-counter cough.
and then I'll tell you what I took.
Okay, so over-the-counter cough medicine has has a drug in it. It's DMT. It's dextromethorphan for our nerds out there. And that would show impairment. But the way that New York State law is set up, it has to be classified as a scheduled drug under the scheduled category for drugs to be able to prosecute for impairment. So I can do my tests, we can determine that they're impaired, but it would not be prosecutable because it wouldn't be in their blood, because it has to fall under that schedule.
So we have,
So
we
it's
do have a public safety issue with people not being aware of the level of impairment that may come about because of taking over-the-counter drug medicines.
It would be a significant amount of, you would probably have to do 2 to 3 bottles of
Okay.
medicine.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, so if you take the prescribed amount of over-the-counter medication, you would be just fine.
Though your medication does say on it. There
So
is a
prescription
warning on
medication.
your prescription medication.
Yeah, prescription medication is another one that we seem to have a bit of an issue with. Just because it's prescribed to you doesn't mean it's safe to be driving with it. There are some medications like Xanax that people take therapeutically every day. They take 0.5 milligram, 2 milligrams every single day for 30 years. They might not be impaired, but if you crush them up and snort 3 of them, you probably would be impaired. So it's all based upon your body, how you take it, how often you take it, how long you've taken it for. It's not as easy as just saying like alcohol. We know you can have 1 or 2 beverages with dinner and drive home safely. Similar to this.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When we started to approve the cannabis dispensary, there was a concern that you wouldn't be able to do a test on someone blood wise and know, like with alcohol, you can do and know immediately.
Mhm.
So in an example of that, if you thought someone was impaired by that, what would be an example of what you would do and how you'd figure it out?
So if, let's say a person was involved in an accident, the officer investigating the accident believes the person to be impaired, they would run them through the same standardized field sobriety test that you would do if you were drinking. After the conclusion of the field sobriety tests, they're determined to be impaired. They then take a portable breath test. That portable breath test would have zeros on it, right? Because they presumably only smoked marijuana. There was no alcohol involved in it. At that point, drug recognition expert would be called to then do the evaluation to determine whether or not they're impaired and if they're impaired by marijuana.
So the smell alone is not enough, you have to have impairment, correct?
Correct. Just like alcohol.
Mhm.
If you were to have a beer with lunch, we might smell it on you, but you're not impaired necessarily.
Okay.
But
Did
it is
we-
an indicator of.
Did we
Insurance
notice,
is much different though. Insurance follows a totally different guideline because the impairment comes with a surchargeable offense. So that's something that it hasn't put up yet.
I have a question. You said there's 4 in the county, so say are you on call? Do you have on call? Because you're not always readily available to be called in for such.
So if there isn't one available, there is actually an app to find a local DRE. We've used them for all over the place. Recently, we had one come from Hunter,
Okay,
a state trooper from Hunter that came down and did an evaluation.
which means you could go to another county or somewhere
Yep.
else as well.
And that's all state funded as well.
did we see any change once the cannabis regulations were changed?
Nothing called.
It might be anecdotal, but no. So I'm only looking at us right now, right here.
Yeah.
No, but like I said before, I think that education needs to increase for that. There's additional higher levels of education for officers. It's a 2 to 3 day course called AROD, Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement, which would give them a bit more knowledge to be able to investigate these types of incidents.
We don't have much when it comes to cannabis, do we, as far as availability, as far as people and their legal
You
limits
have to use
and
your
everything.
microphone.
I can't hear him talking.
What do you mean? Legal limits and such?
So if somebody sits there and smokes 2 joints, we have like the level of marijuana. Is there any type of level set for cannabis? It's just impairment, correct?
It's just impairment.
Okay, so,
Cannabis is different than alcohol.
right,
Um,
the toxicity of marijuana, I've known where people actually have marijuana toxicity.
right, and.
And
have
they're
psychiatric breaks
diagnosed at the
also, too.
hospital with that. So I don't want that person driving
No.
at all.
No, you don't want. the
That
person-
means they smoke a couple of times a
Correct.
day.
Yeah, or they smoked a significant amount, or a stronger amount than they normally would.
And we have nothing in their cars, like with the vehicle, you have that machine that they put in their cars that they have to blow into before they operate their vehicle. But we have nothing like that for marijuana yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Are
They
they
do-
working
they
on
do-
something
They
like
do
that?
have a portable screening device,
Okay,
similar to our portable breath test. It's extremely expensive and it tests saliva for the presence of drugs, whether it be marijuana or something else.
can we get that from the state?
We'll have to look into it.
That would definitely be helpful, especially for younger officers who might not be as confident with their abilities. It gives them the opportunity to see that, yes, what they're looking at is what it is, sight unseen.
Any additional questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
So if you're driving down Ulster Avenue,
microphone.
if you're driving down Ulster Avenue, what rights does the officer have to pull a car over if he smells marijuana coming from the car?
How do you determine it's that car?
I don't know. I can tell you this, I ride down Ulster Avenue.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And I smell it every day.
yeah, and we have hundreds of thousands of cars that pass down Ulster Avenue every day. And to specifically pick out and have reasonable suspicion to believe that that vehicle, the operator is smoking marijuana, unless maybe you saw them with a pipe in their hand.
So you can't.
Correct. You have to have the reasonable suspicion to believe that that vehicle is the one that is doing it. But the vehicle and traffic law is a very large book with a lot of violations that might bring you to that level.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a small display of the many skill sets that our police department is required to master in order to provide public safety to the community. Thank you, Sergeant Miller.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sarge.
Moving down to new business. Where the calendar is changing, as we can see outside and we can feel with the cold evenings, which to me means we're moving into budget season. Tonight, I'm presenting to the town board the request from the East Kingston Fire Company for the 2026 East Kingston Fire Protection District budget. This is emailed to the town board on 8/27/25. This budget will be posted on the town's website and serve as a reference point for the next item. I will ask for a motion to set a public hearing on this budget for the 2026 East Kingston Fire Company for Thursday, October 2nd, 2025 at 7:10. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. The next item, Ms. Hayner.
Yes. We have at the request of Chief Ferrari. He is recommending we hire Mackenzie Hoffman. She'll be part-time, non-competitive. She's in a union position, PBA contract. Step 1 at $20.94 an hour, and her start date will be September 5th, 2025. As a part-time dispatcher, sorry.
And this complies with the policy and formation where everyone has met with the young lady that is required to meet with and signed off.
Yes, the group and I both met with her.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second on the motion?
Wait, that,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a motion to accept the resignation of Larry Decker from the Town Planning Board effective immediately. Larry's been a longstanding member of the planning board, former chairman of the planning board at one point in his career. Inevitably, people get old and they need to make changes in life, and Larry's at that point, so I ask for the motion to accept Larry's resignation from the planning board.
With a heavy heart, I accept that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item sets up the next two pieces of business for the town board. The general fund maintains a building capital reserve, an account that was established in 1988 by the town board and has been funded over the years, totaling currently $655,000 as of January 1, 2025. This general reserve is to be used for improvements to the building and fixed assets of the town. I'm proposing motions that follow here that will flow through this and reduce the balance from 655 to 447. First item is a motion to authorize the payment of application number 1 in the amount of $79,420 to Stisling Electric for contract TU 251, the installation of the site lighting improvements in the town hall parking lot. I believe everyone will agree, we waited a long time and they are functioning appropriately. So may I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Petremont, please come forward to the podium. In conjunction with relighting the parking lot, there have been discussions about repaving the upper parking lot. So Mr. Petremont, would you walk us through that?
Yeah, you requested it for me to give you an estimate and I get an estimate for milling out 2 inches of blacktop. That's will be done by a contractor, Callahan's. Paving 2 inches of the type 6 top, restriping the parking lot and labor and equipment, $105,000. And after speaking this earlier, Councilman Chassel brought up about the entranceways, possibly redoing them beforehand. So we'll be looking in for getting information from that. I'll be calling you tomorrow.
So my resolution calls for appropriating or setting aside $125,000 for improvements. $105,000 for the parking lot, and there's a reserve in there for other issues that may come up, such as maintaining the front stairs and walkway. There was a discussion of additional improvements to the entranceways. I'm sure as we progress along, other things will come about that we'll be looking at taking and doing, but it is that there's enough money to complete the renovations of the front of the building to make them look presentable. Is there any, yes, one other item under restriping. Will we be doing the restriping ourselves?
I believe so.
Okay. So was that an estimate of time?
Yeah, that was on the high side.
Okay. Can always count on that.
I want to be on the low side.
I know you don't, not with me.
Show me the money.
All right, I will move to the next page. We have a resolution for approval for the appropriations from the building reserve fund for the installation of parking lot lighting and the replacement of the pavement at Town Hall. It is appropriating $83,000 for the lighting and $125,000 for the parking lot repavement. May I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a presentation on the general funds recreation equipment capital reserve. In 2014, the town adopted a revised recreation reserve, which we funded through fee revenue that the town earned. And as of January 1, had a balance of $223,667. What we propose tonight is to take a look at that reserve account and appropriate money for the Orlando Street Park project, the Orlando Street repaving project, the signage at Post Park, the signage at Ryder Park, as well as improvements that were made by the Highway Department to Post Park in the spring that was related to blacktopping and stormwater. That should leave us with a balance, and this schedule is the wrong schedule, but it's about $61,000 left in the balance after the funds are spent. The next item in our agenda is a motion to authorize the replacement of the signs at Ryder Park. In accordance with the proposal by Timely Signs dated August 14th, the proposal is $3,250. The proposal does meet the town's procurement policy. We did procure additional quotes to substantiate the pricing here. May I have a motion to authorize the replacement of the signs at Ryder Park?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
On the general fund recreation equipment reserve, do we have to vote on anything for that? We'll move that.
We voted to appropriate the funds. That's the next item here.
Okay,
That's the next resolution.
all right, thanks.
The next item on our agenda is a resolution to approve the appropriation from the Recreation Fee Reserve Fund for the replacement of the Orlando Street softball field lighting and other park improvements. And it says, whereas the balance was $223,000 at the beginning of the year. And we are appropriating $114,000, which is the difference between the total project costs and the county grant that we received for the park lighting. $7,400 for the signage and $20,235 for the blacktopping and drainage work at Post Park in the spring. So I ask for a motion to accept this resolution as presented.
I'll make that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The next item is a presentation of a schedule for the town board's consideration. It shows the original budget for the softball field lighting. It shows all the costs incurred, the amounts that the town received from the grant, and the net out-of-pocket costs that the town incurred. This is presented in accordance with the Office of the State Controller's policies that the town board should be aware of capital expenditures and reporting thereon. The next item is an item that was introduced late. It is related to the extension of the water and sewer districts that are required because of the extension of the water line under the New York State Thruway to the Quality Inn Rupco project. We have two resolutions here setting a public hearing for the next town board meeting on September 25th at 7:05 and 7:10 for the Cherry Hill Water District and the Washington Avenue Sewer District. These resolutions and the public hearing form the basis of the actions of the town board incorporating the properties between the New York State Thruway and Route 28 into the aforementioned districts. May I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented and to direct the town clerk to advertise for the public hearings?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item under new business is a presentation by the town supervisor of the budget memo for 2026 for the process. This is an outline of the town supervisors, also known as the budget officer's obligations to provide and deliver to the town clerk by September 30th a tentative budget, which will be delivered to the town board on October 2nd. We have a meeting on October 16th where we will have no action. The preliminary budget is due to the Ulster County Department of Finance on the 24th. I'm proposing that the town board have a public hearing on November 6th. In accordance with state statute, the latest date to have said public hearing is November 7th. The latest date for the adoption of the budget, according to state law, is November 20th. And coincidentally, the town board has a meeting scheduled for November 20th, where I would propose that the budget vote be taken. November 21st is the latest day we can submit the budget to the Ulster County Department of Finance for their processing. This memo and the timeline that I outlined is open for discussion between now and the next 2 or 3 meetings as we progress through the process. It is all a function of how sticky the budget gets and what it looks like when it comes out the other side of the sausage maker.
In the schedule, we are strictly, we were driven back by the end date of November 21st.
Correct.
It's somewhat variable. It just means we want to be ready to have more meetings if necessary.
Correct.
The minimum number of meetings.
So for the public's understanding, we started the budget process in April of this year by distributing department head packages to the department heads and asking them to make their requests early. They came in July and August, they were put together, and a department head request package has been presented to the board so that the board understands the challenges that the budget officer is facing in going through each individual fund's budget and what has to be taken into consideration for cutting costs or raising revenue. So they're seeing the raw numbers that were put to us by the department heads. And as you heard, Highway Superintendent Mr. Petromol this evening, he'd rather be high than low. So that is what we are challenged with in every one of the budgets as we go forward. Moving forward to old business. We've had a problem for many years at 338 Glenary Boulevard. And tonight I'm presenting a resolution to the town board to authorize the highway department to undercut maintenance, cutting grass and removing fences that are falling down under the judicial decree that was awarded to the town in July of this year. I think this is quite clear. This is not going to be overly burdensome to the highway department, I believe. Am I correct in that? So with that said, may I have a motion to authorize the highway department to cut the grass and remove the fence at 338 Glenary Boulevard?
I make that motion. And I will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now down to the last two items. The next item is a resolution approving the site plan and special use permit for Lightstar Renewables. This is an application that the town planning board received in December of 2024. Public hearing for the special use permit was held in January of 2025. The project has completed seeker. The EAF was fully vetted. Part 1 was fully vetted, which produced a part 2, and part 3 was recently distributed to the town board, addressing the environmental impacts of the project. So with that said, I call for a motion to accept the resolution approving the project, closing seeker, and issuing the special use permit for this project. May I have a motion?
I make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion.
I have some discussion. I find this topic difficult, or I found it a little bit difficult to deal with because I have been against the installation of solar panels on undeveloped land. I am learning as we go through this process that as a councilman, I don't have, we don't have the right, we don't have the right to choose and what is done if we've already got laws in place and rules in place that stipulate what can and can't be done. And when I expressed the concern that I might not agree with this project, I got a hold of our attorney and, well, he got a hold of me because he heard of my concerns. And he answered me, I'll just abbreviate what he said. He said, from a legal perspective, I need to stress that denial of this project presents specific and significant litigation risks for the town. As you know, this parcel is located in a zoning district where the proposed use is permitted by right, subject only to site plan and special permit approval. The applicant has gone through the full process. Seeker review has been completed. All procedural steps have been taken, and the record has been developed carefully to ensure compliance with the state law. In these circumstances, the town board's discretion is limited. Courts have been very clear that when a zoning law enumerates a use as allowed by special permit, it is tantamount to a legislative finding that the use is in harmony with the general zoning plan and presumptively compatible with the neighborhood. In cases, the town board has denied permitted use based on grounds not supported by law. The appellate division annulled the denial, holding the generalized concerns and requirements not set forth in the code could not justify rejecting a permitted use. The town has lost and the project was ordered back on approval. If the town were to deny Lightstar under similar circumstances where the use is permitted and the applicant has satisfied seeker and other procedural requirements, it is highly likely that we would face similar charges. Based on the case law, that is the lawsuit, we probably would lose. The result would be both legal expense to the town and ultimately court-ordered approval of the project. In short, unless there is specific substantial findings in the record demonstrating that the project fails to meet the enumerated criteria of our zoning law, I do not see a defensible legal basis. General objections to citing or preference for different types of solar project developments cannot, standing alone, support rejection on a permitted use. And what I've learned since that, which I appreciate Jason for giving me that information, is that our role as council and councilwomen is to make sure that the rules are followed. The rules are what was set by our zoning. Someone referenced our master plan. The master plan is supposed to work in conjunction with the zoning. The zoning never got updated to deal with what the master plan's intention was. Therefore, our zoning does not prohibit this development. What we talked about earlier before the meeting was a discussion that we can have going forward in considering in future how to regulate this. Be it anything, whether it's a stop sign, we want to change stop signs. You can't punish somebody because we thought there should be a stop sign. We only do it if there is a stop sign. So as I have a serious concern about this, I'm going to have to work with all of you, together with all of us. Some of us have talked today about this, that we need to pursue a zoning and master plan and zoning that will not just this, but we've got to look at some other things coming down the pike that will update this. So yes, in a way, I do feel like our hands are tied, when I have a personal preference about a project. But I also have to realize that's part of the good thing about the protection in our laws and rules is that these people can buy a piece of property, and if the zoning rules say something can be done, then they have the right to do that. We have to just make sure that they go through that they are following procedures, that they are following the laws, that the building department signs off, that the water department says it's okay, the sewer department says it's okay, that traffic says it's okay. And once we've done all that, we're about done. I can't say I don't like it. It's gotta be, they either follow the rules or not. So with that, I vent my frustration and want to say to you how much that I appreciate everybody's willingness to talk and work through this. But I made a mistake years ago in not being more proactive in trying to get changes made. I didn't realize this is what we had to do here. I know better now, and as Supervisor and I talked earlier, we would like that opportunity to work together and possibly develop working on the master plan, working on our zoning to get things in harmony with the changing times.
Any other comments? I would like to add to Mr. Van Cleek's statement where several months ago, gave him charge of a committee to engage the new town planner, which he did, and we are moving down that way. And I know that he's had conversations with the planner. Planner was unfortunately away on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks in August, so I know that the proposal for redrafting the comprehensive plan is late. but it's coming. I also extended to Mr. Van Cleek tonight the opportunity that if he wishes to put together a committee to revise the town's current zoning as it relates to solar, I would encourage that. But I would also make it a point that everyone in this discussion, particularly Ms. Hartman, who calls our attention in her missive that you gave us this morning, or at the beginning of this meeting, sure feels like this morning. There was an appellate court decision in the 3rd district called Freepoint Solar versus the Town of Athens Zoning Board of Appeals, handed down by this appellate court in the early part of this year. The solar developer made an application in the town of Athens in Greene County to build a solar farm about 7 years ago, and the zoning board turned them down. Much like things that are happening in other places around the county. The appellate court looked at the record, particularly the Climate Act of 2019. And the statement of public policy that was created by that act, which said New York State shall have X% of renewable energy by such and such a date, and shall have X number of megawatts of battery storage by such and such a date. The appellate court ruled that the achievements of those goals were in the public interest and ordered the modification of the decision in the trial court granting the zoning variance for the subject property. As Mr. Van Cleek has artfully talked about, all the nuances are not known to us when we come to the table. The nuances are learned and understood and assimilated as they're put in front of us as we face cases like this. And there's going to be more, because there's going to be a lot more decisions that come about based upon decisions that are being made in Albany that are matters of public policy that we will not have an ability to control the outcome. So with that, are there any other comments from the town board? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Looking to see who did a motion. It's been so long. Supervisor Quigley.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeGroot.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hayner.
Yes.
Councilman Schatzel.
Yes.
Councilman Van Cleef.
Yes.
Thank you. The project is approved. The last item on our agenda before we proceed to public comment will be the presentation of the August 2025 report from our ambulance service. For this month, there were 300 calls. 296 calls were served by the ambulances in our town, and 4 calls were relied upon through mutual aid. There were 22 calls under our contract to the town of Kingston. Average response time continues to be less than 7 minutes. So our program continues to demonstrate that it is working, and the citizens in our community are protected with a responsive ambulance service.
One of the things I looked at was that I agree that it's responsive and I think it's working well. And I think something that's working that we thought about but didn't give full weight is in ours supporting, contracting with the ambulance service so that they're here. It costs us, if I did, I think it's under $300 per call they make. But what helps keep that number down is that they're here and they're able to transport. And their ability to transport brings them revenue, which keeps their cost to us down. So I think it's well within the parameters. When we were talking with them initially, it's well within the numbers we thought. It was a system that we said had to be done for a year to figure out whether it's working or not. So not only response time, but I think from what I've heard from the Northeast Center and from the Pembroke Commons, that it's actually benefiting that part of our community also, and that the ambulances are more readily available. So, I know this is an increased cost to our community, but I think, looking at it by the numbers and all that, I think so far, I think we made the right decision.
As Mr. Van Cleef talked about the cost, the original contract has an escalation premium of 5% rolling 2025 to 2026. I had a conversation with the vice president from Empress the other day, who had told me that upper management had authorized him to offer the town a 2% increase on the renewal instead of the 5%. Just letting that out now because I'm waiting for the written, but that's what we can expect.
Can we have more than 1 year?
I will ask for that, but I
If
think
he's being that nice, should we take advantage of it? I'm just asking. Can
I will
we
ask. I will
Can
ask.
we ask?
Yes.
We can ask, yes, we can.
Right.
We can ask.
Why not say?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our scheduled agenda for tonight. Pleased to open the floor. General comment, Mr. Kitchen.
Good evening, Supervisor Quigley, the town board. Eric Kitchen, legislator, District 4, representing a great part of the town of Ulster. Back here again to discuss the progress of what's going on at Seed Song Farm and the activity and the things that I've been doing to get to the bottom and get this place cleaned up and restored to looking like a farm. And so I'm here tonight, and I've asked my fellow neighbors that live down on Orlando Street are here this evening also to show their support for getting things fixed down there. So I've been in communication with the health department for the last few weeks. And I know that the owner of the farm has been, I'm told, responsive when speaking. I also would like to report that the health department, Mr. Timothy Rose and Jimmy Rodden and Warren Tutt met down at the farm today. These issues still continue. I was told that the owner now is eager to come to the table and get things cleaned up and wants to know how much time he has, but I'd like to remind him that he's had almost a year since he got his violation notice to clean this property up. But lived down there along the river. They lost most of their homes in the flood several years ago and put a lot of money back into those homes to raise their elevation of their homes to remain in the town of Ulster. And we appreciate that, and I appreciate that. And over the last couple of years, the situation and the appearance of the farm down there is looking very rundown. Tents, teepees, trailers, and I'm here to ask town board tonight to stay on top of this. I'm working on my end. We're gonna get the trailers turned out of there, taken out of there. They tell me there's only one farm worker, migrant farm worker on site, and that he will be moving to the structure that's on the farm, which is a home. I did question the summer camp program that they have down there. I told them that next year, when it's time for their summer camp renewal and moving ahead, the owner of the farm must consider bathrooms and restroom facilities for their campers and not having them share a bathroom inside the house of the structure where the migrant farmer is going to be living.
You're over your time.
All right, so with that said, I just want to let you know that I am seriously working on this issue down there. And I'll be working with Mr. Tutter, building inspector, and thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lucarini, you had your hand up?
Based on the statements of Councilman Van Cleek and Supervisor Quigley, please disregard the last paragraph, except for the first sentence.
What did Winnie the Pooh say?
Okay, so, good evening, town board members. My name is Vicky Lucarini, and I live at 170 Ledge Road in the town of Ulster. I usually stand here to make a well-researched factual statement about the Light Star Renewable Project, why it should not be approved, which I have done in the past. And in that statement, I informed the town board that we have lost 3 billion birds since 1950 because of habitat loss and climate change. And let us not forget the butterflies and the bees that have been lost for the same reasons. I also informed the board that one tree provides oxygen for 4 people and trees filter the air of particulate matter, which is so important since we have been dealing with wildfire smoke and poor air quality, which I am sure will continue in the future. I am aware that there is a possibility that further damage to our ecosystems that this project will cause does not matter to you. Tonight, my statement will be a different kind of statement, one that reflects my perceptions and the perceptions of some of the public. It is fact that the last time the town of Ulster updated its comprehensive plan was 18 years ago. This did not include the town's zoning code. So how do these very outdated zoning codes affect how the town operates today? The town board seems deliberately negligent on keeping its planning and zoning codes up to date to deal with the issues we are facing in the world today. Your inertia is your excuse to allow bad ideas to prevail in our town, and you claim if we don't allow this proposal to move forward, we will get sued. I completely understand that, completely. But the town of Ulster has a perception problem. During a county planning board meeting that I attended to make a statement against the same project, a member of that board stated out loud that the town of Ulster doesn't have its, excuse the expression, shit together, referring to its outdated comprehensive plan and zoning dealing with solar development. Another perception of our town is, give it to the town of Ulster. They'll approve anything as long as it generates money. The town board is responsible for the perception of its citizens by what it does not do, and how it does it. To skip the rest of it. If you're wondering what I want from you, here are a couple of things you can do. Get started on updating the comprehensive plan and outdated zoning now. Receive public commentary respectfully, openly, and inclusively. And 3, make the planning board more diverse in party affiliation so as to encourage dialogue. Now, you mentioned about the climate law. I also want you to be aware that NYSERDA has actually come up with zoning for solar. And this is New York State guidelines for zoning, okay? So along with that climate law comes recommendations for zoning for certain types of development like solar, okay? And I will be happy to help Mr. Van Cleek on his committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Obujeski?
Good evening, members of the Ulster Town Board. This is written by Laura Hartman and myself on behalf of the town of Ulster citizens. There's a lot to learn about the benefits and dangers of lithium-ion batteries. a hot topic in the town of Ulster and adjacent communities is not about e-bikes that have 250 watts electric capacity, but a peaker plant having 250 million watts, or 250 megawatts, or 1 million e-bikes. It's a lot, it's big. On its face, a battery storage system, in short, a BESS, that saves electric energy when we really need it at peak hours of the day seems like a good idea, given the ever-increasing demand for electric power. A closer look at recorded incidents regarding safety issues, such as explosions and fires that can't be put out, and potential compromises to homes as well as sensitive environments, have also generated heightened concerns. Recently, there has been no shortage of publicity as well as public commentary at the town of Ulster board meetings, excuse me, on TerraGen's proposed BESS at the former Coleman High School campus on Hurley Ave. The town of Ulster Citizens.org deeply appreciates the passion for personal safety and environmental integrity expressed by citizens affected by this project. Tonight, we offer a couple of reasons for our disagreement with one strategy suggested for the town of Ulster, namely that our town declare a moratorium on large BESS projects. A moratorium is well-intentioned but late. The Ulster Town Board already stepped up to be the lead agency for the New York State Seeker review process. Given the size and the potential impact of such a BESS project, the TerraGen proposal requires a detailed and fully vetted review that comes only with a seeker positive declaration that involves scoping and extensive public review. We did, and this, I've added a sentence here that you don't have on your printed copy. We disagree with New York State Assembly Member Shrestha's and Senator Hinchey's premature support for the TerraGen's BESS. The last developer to propose a peaker plant in the town was GlidePath, in a process that lasted from 2017 to 2022, about 2022, when GlidePath's parent company, Quinnbrook, dissolved GlidePath itself. GlidePath wanted to install a fossil fuel power generation peaker plant on a wooded site close to homes. The positive declaration process that ensued generated two alternatives that never came to fruition. A 20 megawatt BESS, then a fairly and actually very new concept, on a different site away from homes. In addition, our town board created a law that rejected all future proposals that require a New York State DEC air permit. That stance is stronger than a moratorium, but it has no application to the peaker process, to the peaker proposal before us. TerraGen's BESS proposal is almost 13 times larger than GlidePath's. The impacts of this very large BESS, New York State regulatory oversight and compliance, along with personal and environmental safety issues, are mostly unknown to us and therefore require a clearer and deeper understanding. A moratorium, even if it were legal, would stifle public voice and valuable information that a positive declaration under the seeker law would generate. This necessary process will likely be a long haul, and it should be. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none? I ask for a motion to go into to go into executive session
Make that,
for the purpose of discussing an employment history of a particular person and matters leading to an appointment.
I will make that motion. I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
When did it come out with that?